Hi, everybody. Welcome back. We are here to recap Week 14. This was the final week of the regular season of fantasy. Regular season is over. That's it. Done. Playoff schedule and games are locked in. We're going to get to that in just a moment. Real quick, congrats to Ashley. She had the highest score. Week 14, I should also point out, is the last week of the $5 payouts. Um, they only went through the regular season, so this will be the last week that the high scorer gets paid out, and that goes to Ashley. Funny enough, this week there was three teams that scored over 170 points. Ashley had 179, Justin had 176, and Shannon had 174. So they were actually all within about 5.5 points of each other. So real close there. Ashley got the final one for her second or third time this season, I believe. A lot of crazy matchups this week. We're going to gloss over them as we did in prior weeks, kind of hit on the ones that were sort of playoff relevant. To anybody that watches these that did not make the playoffs, thank you for joining us this season. There's always next season. Better luck. A lot of you that didn't make it have made it in prior seasons. Kate being one of them. I think this is her first season missing it. Jimmy's been close before. Henry, I think, has been pretty close as well. So, there's always next season. Hopefully, you had fun. There's still consolation games to be played. There's no prize for those. There's no incentive. Feel free to start your lineups, do whatever. Still have fun with it if you want. But for now, we've got 6 teams locked into the playoffs, 6 teams that are out. And let's go ahead and talk about those real quick here. So, final standings, the way they shook out. First through fifth, just as a reminder, make the playoffs. 6th seed went to the highest score. So, in this case, Shannon was the number 1 seed. She won her game against Chad this week and took that number 1 seed with just an absolute monster amount of points. I mean, second most points scored is Chad with 2017. Shannon had a solid, 160 points more than him. Just absolute monster season from Shannon. She's the team to beat probably in the playoffs. Scott managed to pull sort of an upset really these past few weeks. He's won 7 in a row, despite not having. Let's see here. I'm just kind of curious. Shannon's first in points. Chad's second in points. Third in points. Ashley's fourth in points. Justin's fifth in points. Melissa's sixth in points. Nope. Okay, no, Scott's looks like he's fourth in points perhaps. So there were several people ahead of him in points scored, but he managed to pull off 10 and 4. He got second place, locked up that second bye. So he and Shannon will enjoy a week off from fantasy. No implications here. They can just chill. They automatically move into the money, meaning they'll be in the final 4 regardless of the outcome of this next week of playoffs because they don't have a match to play, which is a very nice position to be in. So congrats to the two of them. Chad, since he lost his matchup to Shannon and since Scott won, he falls to number 3, and he has to play now Ashley in the playoffs. Melissa made it. I made it. And as we just said, Ashley is the bottom seed there. It shows Justin here in the standings. That's because it defaults to the Yahoo, which just goes by standings. But obviously, as we said, 6th seed goes to the highest point scored out of everybody that wasn't in the top 5. So if you look, that was Ashley. Justin wasn't too far behind. He was about 40 points behind Ashley. He would have been the next person in line if it wasn't for her. So congrats to Ashley for squeaking in. They kind of swap places there in the standings, but otherwise it's unchanged up and down the board. So let's talk. We'll talk about the upcoming games here shortly, but let's just jump into some of these highlights, these matches from last week. Like I said, I'm going to gloss over a lot of these. My game against JT, no real playoff implications here. I had basically nobody I could start in this game. I had 4 players on a bye. I had 2 guys on IR. I had Swift out. I had Hawkinson out. I had Daryl Henderson out with COVID. And I wasn't about to go nuclear on my lineup just to start some people. So I left a lot of spaces blank on purpose this week. I knew I didn't need the win. Move on from that. JT, on the other hand, has put together a really solid season these past few weeks. He has won 3 in a row, but he finished 6 and 8. So, he was kind of right there. He managed to put together 1,800 points. So, it's only 74 points less than our number 2 seed. So, I think all in all, he really recovered after he started, 0 and 3, 0 and 4, something of that, maybe even 0 and 5 or 0 and 6. So I think a few more games, his team probably could have gotten a few more wins. and he may have climbed up those boards. So it's unfortunate, but that is where that stands. Let's talk about Ashley and Kate's game. We'll hit on a couple of Ashley's players here. Tom Brady had another great game, over 300 yards, 3 touchdowns in this game. George Kittle has been crazy lately. He had 150 yards. I think, yeah, wow, 2 weeks in a row, he's had over 150 yards and at least 1 touchdown. That's really wild. You don't see that from tight ends. So great to see that there. Alvin Kamara, first game back, really big game. And nobody else really of note in this game here. So, Ashley didn't need to win this game. We talked about it before. All she needed to do was, keep a point lead on the people around her, which was Justin and Jimmy, and she did that. She did that very well. So, move on. Justin had a great week here. We talked about he only finished 40 points behind Ashley. She just had a couple really good weeks that sort of boosted her ahead. But, Aaron Rodgers had 4 touchdowns, over 300 yards in this game. James Conner had a great game before he got hurt at the end. But unfortunately, just not enough to get him there for the final push for the playoffs. Henry ended up finishing at 8th. He had a pretty solid season all around. Not a ton of points scored, 1654. That was one of the lower ones. It looks like that was actually the third lowest points scored. So not a great season from him, but could have been worse. Let's move on. Let's talk here about Melissa and Chris's game. Again, not a lot of fantasy implications here. Melissa had pretty much already locked up a playoff spot, I believe. And Chris has been out for a long time, unfortunately. So, no real star players here to talk about. She had a good game all around. 152 points is always a good week. You're going to win a lot of games with 152 points. So congrats again to Melissa for making it in. This game, Scott against Moon. Now, this was a big one here. As we talked about last week, there was 3 players fighting for those buys in the playoffs. It was Scott, Chad, and Shannon. And if Scott won his game, which he did in this case by about 30 points, he was going to get to bye because the 3 of them all had the same wins and losses. If he lost, then Shannon and Chad would both make it in, regardless of who won the game between Shannon and Chad. So this has kind of been the story of Scott's season. Yeah, he's got the 4th or 5th most points scored, but if we go back to the leaderboards, I notice this. I believe he's got the lowest points scored. Yeah, he's got 1670. Which, kind of helps explain how he's managed so many wins with, not a crazy amount of points here. To put it in perspective, we only had, looks like, one other team that had less than 1,700 points scored against him. That was Justin. Everybody else had it 1,700, 1,800, 1,900. Poor Kate had 2,000 points. Oh my gosh, she was way out ahead of everybody. So, yeah, she had lowest points, highest points against. That is a horrible combination. She still pulled out 4 wins though, so kudos to her for that. So anyways, big win for Scott here against James, who, much like me, was really kind of rolling out just whoever he could to fill a roster this week. But he had a valiant effort here. He was in a push for that 6th spot as well, but could not get it. Last game here was the biggest one. This was Chad and Shannon. Both these guys, they were kind of juggernaut teams this week. When you put up 151 points and lose, it really kind of sucks, especially when you have Dalvin Cook who put up 50. Problem is the rest of his team kind of dropped the ball. Terry McLaurin got hurt in this game after playing for about half the game with a goose. Dalton Schultz did nothing. Hubbard, MVS is pretty much always going to goose you or something close to it. Cooper Kupp, 34 points. So, between those 2 guys, Justin Herbert had another good game. Those 3 players alone got him 110 points roughly. So everybody else just kind of filled in the other 40 points there. Shannon, her team continues to dominate here, even with a down week from Dak Prescott. Didn't matter. T. Higgins, 20 points. Devontae, 37 points with 120 yards, a couple touchdowns. Leonard Fournette's been killing it. Mark Andrews is now the number 1 tight end on the season. Debo, kind of a down week for him, but funny enough, they're using Debo almost more as a running back now than I think he's had 1 catch in each of these last 3 games. Yeah, Debo's had wide receiver. He's had 1 catch in each of the last 3 games. But he's getting a bunch of rushes, a bunch of carries as like a running back. So he's got a lot of value there. But this was apparently not a game where he had a lot of production on the ground, unfortunately. But it doesn't matter. She's got 170 points here. So her team is the one to beat. It's hard to imagine taking her down. Eckler, I think, will be fine, but tough to say for sure. So going to be very, very tough sledding for whoever plays her. Now, as the first seed, when she does move into the divisional round, the second round of the playoffs, she will play the lowest seed. So that could be obviously, it's not going to be Chad. She won't play Chad, but it could be Melissa, me, or Ashley, depending on how the games shake out. So anyways, congrats to Shannon. First overall finish, very good. She moves into the money with Scott. So let's go ahead and we're going to talk about our Week 15, Week 1 playoff matchups now. Talk about the, let's see here, where they at? There we go. Okay, so this is the quarterfinal round, Week 15. Next week will be the semifinals, and then the week after that will be the playoff championship game. So this week, we talked about it, Shannon and Scott are on a bye. They get the week off to relax and watch everybody else struggle. Meanwhile, I take on Melissa, and Chad takes on Ashley. So let's jump in here and talk about some of these games. Let me go back real quick. Okay. Let's see. So we'll start with my game against Melissa here. We'll just start on the left side of my screen. My team is still a little bit of a mess right now. I get my guys back from bye, thankfully, but unfortunately, I still have a ton of injuries. Daryl Henderson might be a go, and even if he is, I'm not sure what kind of workload he's going to have. TJ Hawkinson might be a go, even if he is, I'm not sure what kind of workload he's going to get. I do get Jonathan Taylor back, which is nice, but he plays New England, and they're pretty stout against pretty much every position. Same with Michael Pittman. I've got him going against New England, which does not bode well. So I have a lot of bad matchups this week, a lot of really bad matchups. On top of some injury struggles and just overall, my team has kind of fallen apart these past few weeks. Meanwhile, Melissa's team is kind of heated up a little bit here. Kyler Murray's back. He's pretty much healthy. He gets Detroit, which is an absolutely juicy matchup. She's got Jamar Chase, who finally had a good week after a couple of stinkers in a row. He gets to take on Denver, which isn't too scary. She's got Tyreek taking on the Chargers. Not a great matchup. Najee taking on Tennessee is good. Josh Jacobs against Cleveland should be good. Now, Kyle Pitts has been a little disappointing, but it's all right. A.J. Dillon against Baltimore. I expect, Baltimore's been really good against the run, but team's starting to fall apart. So, he'll probably beat projections, maybe not by a whole lot. Cole Beasley, not a bad play. He's had a lot of bad games too, so, he could be one of her dud players. We'll see. Waivers run. She'll make some moves, some changes here. I don't think she's going to put in anybody from her lineup. I can't imagine her switching anybody. Maybe AJ Green for Cole Beasley, or possibly even Zach Ertz for Cole Beasley as a flex tight end. So I got to give it to Melissa here. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to cobble together a team here in this final week that can compete with another playoff caliber team. So we will move on from her. We will talk about the next matchup, which was going to be Chad and Ashley. Now, Chad, unfortunately, as a third seed, gets to take on Ashley, who is the sixth seed, but is one of the top scorers. So both their teams kind of on fire lately. Chad's got Cooper Kupp and Dalvin Cook. They've been amazing. Dalvin Cook will be without Alexander Madison this week, who is on the COVID reserve list, which means Dalvin Cook's going to get just 100 touches. And even though they're playing against Chicago, he's going to have probably a ton of points. So he'll have at least 20, probably 25 plus. Cooper Kupp, we already talked about this. I mean, he's just been on fire. He's having just a historic season. I don't expect anything less against Seattle. I expect to bounce back there. Terry McLaurin, I don't know. He got a concussion. His status for this week is kind of up in the air, so we'll see about that. On his bench, he's got Darnell Mooney, who he can slot back in. He gets Minnesota, so at the very least, he can play him over McLaurin if McLaurin's out. I don't know if I would touch anybody else down here. Damian Harris against Indy. If Damian Harris is healthy, it's probably a decent play over maybe MVS, who's super unpredictable. But either way, Cordero against San Fran's not a bad matchup. I think and Justin Herbert against Kansas City is very juicy as well. That could be a bit of a shootout. So he's got four high upside players. Other side of the ball here, Ashley, she's got Tom Brady against New Orleans. Hopkins, if he plays against Detroit, that's a great matchup. DJ Moore also kind of banged up. She's got some injury problems of her own. James Robinson, not super healthy, but he gets to take on Houston, which is great. She's got Kamara back against Tampa Bay. Not a great matchup for Kamara, but if they use him in the passing game, he'll be fine. George Kittle against Atlanta, that's a great matchup. Brandon Cooks against Jacksonville, that should be pretty good. She can probably slot in Jacoby Myers for Jeff Wilson. He's probably not worth a start at this point, even though he does get to take on Atlanta, which is nice. But I think Jacoby Myers is probably the play there. This is tough. I'm not sure. The projections obviously favor Chad here, but I lean a little more 50-50 than they currently indicate. Um, I do think Chad's got some higher upside players, so it kind of makes me lean his direction. But I don't really have much of a prediction for this game right now. I think it could go either way. Um, it'll probably be close no matter the outcome here. Um, so I think that's it. That's pretty much our playoff matchups. We're not going to cover, sort of the consolation bracket matches. If you're in those, like I said, hopefully it's something you want to do is manage those games. Certainly not required at this point, so feel free to drop that. Also, if anybody noticed down here, I did make a change. For anybody ever curious too, I'm not sure if there's a place to see this on the app, but on the website, if you go to the league page, league here, scroll down to commish updates. It'll tell you any notes I've made, which I haven't made any, or any changes I've made to the league. So you can see a lot of them were, league adjustments back in August when I was setting up, and then early September before the season started. But the one I just made 10 hours ago, you'll see here, is I changed the playoff seeding. Again, this was to reflect the fact that Yahoo defaults to just the top 6 in the standings going to playoffs. I had to correct that to reflect our league format, in which the highest points is the 6th seed. So I swapped basically Justin and Ashley, which is what all of this says effectively, in just a very wordy way. So that's it. Good luck to everybody this week. Actually, before we go, I want to find. I apologize, I forgot to pull this up beforehand. I want to find the payouts, the league payouts. Okay, here we go. 2021 season payouts. So this is in the under league message board. It was a post I put up August 27th before the season started. It structures the payouts. So first place, and this is first place meaning the winner of the championship game in week 17 gets $250. The loser in the championship game is second and gets $150. And then third and fourth place get $80 and $50 respectively. Now, third and fourth place will be determined in championship week, when the losers from the semifinals in week 16 play each other in week 17. And the winner of that game is third, the loser is fourth. So, again, anybody that makes it to the semifinals is automatically in the money here, because obviously at that point there's only 4 people left. So, that's Scott and Shannon are guaranteed at very worst $50 in their money back. So, anyways, good luck to everybody this week. To everybody not playing, again, thank you for joining us this year. Hopefully you can come back next year. I like making small tweaks every year, try to make the league a little more fun, a little more competitive. Got some things on the table for next season. Probably going to reduce the bench spot. Not anything super exciting there. Just as a reminder, the draft next season will be a reverse order finish based on how this season plays out. Now, we can already say, this is probably something I should have gone over already. Basically, we've locked in the first 7 draft picks, right? Chris is going to get pick number 1, Kate number 2, Jimmy number 3, JT number 4, Henry number 5, Justin will be number 6, because again, Justin and Ashley are switched here, and that's it. So we've locked in the first 6. As the other 6 playoff teams play each other and get eliminated, they will sort of rank themselves for the remaining 6 spots, but that is where the first 6 stand currently. So again, hope you all can join us again next season, and good luck to everyone this week. Bye.